Stardust. This movie is a very interesting movie, and yes, this is another 4K review. We're going to be talking about this movie in the 4K. Let's talk about the movie first, as I like to do with these, because I do feel like with the physical media community, it has really become less about the movie and more about having it. Just to have it. Oh, it looks, you get the Steelbook and you don't really watch the movie. How many of you bought the Steelbook for the Steelbook or the movie for the movie? That's the question, all right? So I like to talk about these movies first. Stardust is a very interesting movie because I think this is actually based on a book, if I'm not mistaken, but this is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who for a while there was an interesting director with movies like this, the Kingsman movies, Kick-Ass 1 and 2, less so 2, but he was a big up-and-coming director, and then now nobody fucking likes him, I don't think, with how the last couple Kingsman movies turned out after that first movie. It's not great. I guess the prequel one turned out a little bit better, but I still think there's not a lot of people who are super in love with the Kingsman movies as the way they used to be. Argyle was a bomb. Nobody liked it, and every other project he's kind of been involved with recently is just not catching the attention. But I will say this is one of his best movies, and I think it's one of his best movies because it does not feel like a movie like him. It's so different from anything else he's ever done. This is a very grand scale epic fantasy, but in a weird way it also is like his other films, because it's like his Kingsman movies, they're a subversion of superhero movies, or not superhero movies, spy movies, and then you have Kick-Ass, which are a subversion of like comic book action movies, and this movie I wouldn't say is a complete subversion of fantasy movies, but it definitely is, where fantasy movies usually have a clear-cut protagonist. There's lots of world building at the very beginning of the movie. This movie doesn't really do that. It's very quick to do the world building and not spend a lot of time on it. It has, and it will give you more details as the movie goes along, which is very unusual for fantasy movies. So I think it's a really interesting story, and it's kind of like three different stories, because it's basically, everybody wants the star. There's all these different characters that want it. You got these witches. This guy wants to be king. This one guy who just wants it for love, and it makes for a pretty fun movie. And it's got a great cast to it. Claire Danes is really good in it. Michelle Pfeiffer is incredible in this movie. And her character, from what I understand, did not have a lot of character in the book, but they expanded her role in this movie, and you can really tell why. Robert De Niro's in it in a role that you wouldn't even realize is him. It's a really good movie. If you really love like fantasy movies, and movie looks great. The 4K is great. I've never seen this movie before, so I can't really speak to how the Blu-ray looked, but I will say it does come with the Blu-ray and the 4K. But I think this is a movie. Look how nice this Steelbook is. That is so gorgeous. This is, like, if you love this movie, this is the best way to own it, I think. I'm there's other Blu-ray versions of this and other versions you can get. There's a slipcover edition. I think there's a Walmart version of this. I'm not really sure what the difference is with the Walmart Steelbook. But I think, honestly, this is just a great addition for a movie that is honestly severely underrated. It's really good. Just it's got a great universe and world to it and everything. If you really love this movie, check this Steelbook out. It's a great release from Paramount. Love this one. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe. Next week we'll be talking about Chronicles of Riddick, which I'm not really sure what I'll think about that, but we'll talk about that.